Hi, good morning. This is Tina, and we're going to do a bit of tangling. So let's start. I'm going to move my tiles and things out of the way. There we go. I'm going to follow the 8 basic steps for the Zentangle method. Bring my tile. So the tile I'm using is the Zentangle tile. The square tile, it's 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch. If you do not have the Zentangle tiles, you can use any paper, any square. You can die cut them, use a ruler and a blade. But the size here is 3.5 by 3.5. So let's start. So we're just gonna take a moment to, be thankful for today, be thankful for everything. To be honest, for me, it is pretty much everything. Let's take a moment, appreciate the time together, and be thankful. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start with the corner dots. This will help me just calm down, get focused, and put something to start off with on the paper. I'm just joining the corner dots to create a border. I'm not necessarily going to stay within the border, but we will see. There we go. So we've now got a frame. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not too sure. It's a bit light, isn't it? Let me see if I can change the setting a little bit so it's not as bright. That's better, isn't it? Well, I hope it is anyway. They've gone the other way now. Okay. I'll just keep an eye on it and have a look and see. So next, we're going to put a string. And what string do I want? Let's do something. Maybe a circle. Just scribble something. Scribble something. Scribble something. So that's my string. There we go. That's my string. And again, I think it is very glary. It's a really cloudy day today. So I don't know if the glare is maybe from that or the light coming from the top. Let me see if turning on the light might help. Might actually make it worse. I don't know. Oopsie daisy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start with a tangle called Ginelli. I love this tangle. It's an organic tangle. I'm going to use the micron number 4 tool. If it's too big, I might swap it to a smaller one. So for Ginelli, I'm going to do it sort of in this area here. I'm just going to come up around and form a sort of a petal shape. Yeah. I'm going to turn that around and do another one. And they can be any shape, they can go in any direction you want it to go. Bringing it to a point. It's going at the back there. I might grow it a little bit out here. And you can see I haven't stayed in my string area. I've gone out. I'm just letting my hand and pen decide for me where I'm going, to be honest. Even I don't know where I'm going with this. We will see. We will see. I'm just growing it in pretty much any direction. Keep turning your tile around, because when you turn your tile, you see the drawing in different, like when it's in different orientations, and that may help you make a decision where you want to go next. I think I'm going to leave it at that. She says again, not leaving it at that. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. So this is the basic shape I've drawn. What I'm going to next do is, with Janelli, what we do is so let me start here. So from this one, we just draw lines, curved lines following the shape. You can do as many as you want, as few as you want. And then what we do is we round these. So I'm going to follow that around and round it along there and up, follow it around, round it. And it gives the ends on the petals some weight. And it's such a pretty, when you've done a few of these, you'll be able to see how pretty this really looks. I like to start in the middle because it gives me a point to work out from on each petal. And then once again, I'm going to just round those ends. So you can put the lines on each of the petals as you first, if you wish, and then do the rounding at the end of each line, or you can do it as you go along. I'm going to do this as I go along. And it's really pretty, it's repetitive, it's mindful. You just take time to just relax. I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's really pouring today. So it's quite nice to stay in, focus a little bit. And yeah, like I said, keep turning your tile. I can't believe it's already Thursday. I don't know where the time goes. This week just seems to have flown. Does anyone have any plans for the weekend? Hopefully some nice plans. So I'm always heading the lines towards the center of each petal. And if you're not sure where the center is, just make it up. My general rule is, so for example, when I get here or here, I tend to follow where the center is. So I would draw the lines towards the middle of the whole cluster. And it depends on how many of these petals you have done. So you may already be done. Take a moment to look at your tile and See if you want to add any more. So over here, for example, I want my line to head towards here, approximate center. Maybe one more there. You can see how pretty. I think adding the weights to the end of these lines gives it that little bit of drama. It also separates each petal from the other one, from the one below. And when you have a few of these, it looks so pretty, so pretty. And I'll be honest, it's a tangle I absolutely love, but I forget to use it more often. There is hundreds and hundreds of tangles out there. And well, I want to do them all. I'm gonna try them all. Obviously, I don't have the time to do them all sort of in a short period. So as I'm learning new tangles, I sometimes forget to use the ones that I absolutely love. And that's okay, because every now and then you remember them and you use them and you realize, oh yeah, I missed this. I'm pretty sure I enjoy the sessions even more that way. I think there's more of an appreciation of them when I haven't used them for a while. So Janelli has been designed by Randy. Hold on, I've written it. Randy Wine Perry. I've probably pronounced it completely wrong. So sorry about that. Oopsie daisy, I've done that. That's okay. There's no mistakes. And that goes underneath, so I don't need anything there. Maybe one there. So this one here is growing at a very odd angle, so I want to bring it along the center here. So I think I need a new pen. I'm going to yeah, I think this is the quietest I've been when I'm recording a video. I'm just really enjoying this process of just doing lines, rounding them off. It's like meditation for me. And as you're doing this, don't forget to, breathe. I think sometimes we forget to take a moment, look up, or we're holding our breath, focusing on what we want to do next, for example. But when we have repetition like that, it almost, allows us to actually slow down and just let the pen decide where it wants to go. And can slow down our breathing a little bit. Enjoy the process. Well, I do anyway. You can see how this is growing. I'm not sure where these petals are going, but that's okay. And by the time you add the weights, I think, you know, it looks completely different to without the weight. So when we look at these lines, they look totally different to when we have added the weights on them. And wait till you add the shading to it. For me, when we add shading, that's when magic really happens as well. It almost brings the designs to life. So that's what we have so far. Okay, what should we do next? Let us put, how about just a few flocks? So flux this is Rick's version of flux. Rick and Maria are the founders of the company Zentangle. And this is Rick's version. And what I'm going to do is in the middle, I'm going to do an orb and color the space. I'm just going to put a few. I'm not going to put too many, but just something to add a bit more to this tile. So again, I'll do maybe one there. Taking group. So for flux, what we are doing is we're going up, around, follow it around, and then curving it inwards to the point. And I've put a couple of dots in the middle and a center line and an orb. Maybe do one here. So to the point, line in the middle, and dot dot. And maybe we do an orb on the outside this time. When I put an orb, for example, on the inside, I like to add just a little bit of rounding on the edges so it connects it to the tangle it's sitting next to. And should I put another one here? Let's put another box here. And put another, maybe I'll put a couple of orbs. And color it in the middle. Connect it to that with a bit of rounding. And I'm going to join these two with a teeny tiny rounding there. And let's do, I know I said just one more and I'm still doing more. The last video I did, we did flux and muga. And yeah, I definitely didn't know when to stop. I just love these tangles. I'm not going to do one there, but I'm going to add rounding there, and I'm going to add a bit of rounding here. So I'm going to, where the flux are joining, I'm going to add just a bit of rounding to just connect them together. It just makes it gives it more solidity. Would you say solidity? There we go. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So that was flux. Let's write at the back what we have used. So first we used Ginelli, Randy, wine, Perry. Sure if it's P-A-R-R-Y or P-E-R-R-Y. We've used Flux, and that's by Zentangle ink. I want to put something that's a little bit more free flowing. So we drew a string here. I don't know if I'm going to follow the string, but we will see. So what I'm going to use is, and I will actually jump to a smaller point. So I'm going to go to my O1. And I am going to use a tangle called Sea Wave. And I haven't used this one before, so it may be a very, what's it called? Stormy Sea. But it's by Ginny Lou. Yeah. Okay. So here's my basic string. I can just about see it. So with Sea Wave, what we do is we do a little wave and close it. And you're going to have the waves. You can make them as close as you want. And then do another one here. And once again, you're going to pretty much let the waves form by themselves. So you're going from the point, aura, point, aura, point. Like I said, I haven't used it before, so I did look it up. I loved it when I saw it, but I don't remember completely how it was. You're going from point, aura to the point, point, aura to the point. Might make that a little bit thinner. Let's do another one here. And you can see it just grows. You're just doing curves above, below, and going from point to point. So, another one here. I don't know if it is looking like a sea wave, but that's where the inspiration, I'm assuming, had come from. So this would be going underneath. So I'm going to have it. Let's have one or two stray waves. I'm not being particularly careful about my lines or keeping the distance sort of equal. I'm just focusing on, just creating waves. I'm just wondering where to go. Let's have a teeny tiny one here. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this. I'm going to pretend the Janelle is sitting on top of this, and I'm going to do wherever string was here, another couple. I'll go out. And this will be going underneath somewhere there. So going off the time. There we go. Have that one there. And one that goes this way. At this point, I have no idea where my what do you call it, string is, because I'd drawn it very faint, and that's okay because it gives me that freedom to let me just tangle in any direction I may want at this point, which is always a good thing. Oopsie daisy. So clearly walk around and see if you want to add anything else. I think I want to add maybe a bit more along here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this longer, wider, and have my waves flowing in this direction. Can you say this branch? From, yeah, this branch basically. I'm sure in the sea you don't get waves growing in all sorts of directions like this. I mean, waves do generally grow in, move in one direction. But we can go wherever we want with this, can't we? And because our starting and ending points are the same, that almost adds shading for us where they meet. Because it's darker in those areas, we will be adding shading to it, but you can see where we've created each wave and started and stopped in one place. Like here, it's already darker. I quite like the shape of that. Might add one more along here. And some of my lines have been very close together, others have been a bit further apart. think I'm going to leave that one at that actually. I quite like it the way it is. If you want to add more, you can add more. I'm going to leave this, but what I'm going to do is I am going to add in between a few more flux. And I'm going to go back to my thicker pen because when I did the flux, I used the 04. So I'm going to go back to my 04 and just fill in where there is the so that goes underneath the wave like this. It comes out and back there. So I'm just going to put a orb in there, put that in, fill it in. I think I'll just fill this. There you go. And do you know what? I think I'm quite tempted to put a Janelli petal in there. Why not? And then round it off. What it will do is it will bring some of the center towards the outside. It's as if the petal is flowing from underneath the wave and coming out that way. And yeah, just because. I think I'll just put an orb here. When you put orbs and they can be anywhere. I think, you know, this, I'm just putting them wherever I feel like it. I'm not thinking it through or anything as such. I love putting orbs on everything anyway. So there's a few there. Okay, so that was like having it's growing, it's growing around and this way, so it looks like it's underneath. Maybe put a few orbs in there. They're teeny tiny, but I think they'll just add a little bit extra to the tile. Shrunk that. And okay, I'm going to stop because this is just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't mind it. And maybe one here. And once again, you can see they're all different sizes. Some are large, some are small. And whenever I put an orb, I'm just rounding it off where my flux are meeting. I'm just rounding it off. There we go. Okay. Let's grow some from here. Let's put one on this side. And I'm just putting orbs wherever I fancy again. In some places I have one, in some places I have a few. I think I'm going to stop this one here. There we go. I think I quite like that. I'm wondering, do I want to put something here? Maybe a grid pattern? How about we do something very simple? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, where we had the border here, we drew the border. I'm just going to redraw over it to where it meets our C wave to create a border. And I'm going to break this into sections. So I'm going to start about halfway, or shall I? No, actually, let's go with an sepal, and this one is by, again, Zentangle ink. So for the ensemble, I'm going to just go, should I do it in, you can do it in straight, but I'm going to just like make them go in different directions, curves, closer, further, and it's sometimes called crazy ensemble because although it's a grid pattern, we're not doing it in a perfect grid. Well, I'm not doing it in a perfect grid, so we sometimes call this crazy ensemble. I think it takes the pressure off trying to get the straight lines and all that, which is what we sometimes need in life, is just to take that pressure off and just enjoy the moment, do something creative. Without having to worry, is it straight or not? So there we go, that's what we have. Lines going in every sort of direction. So now with Crazy and Zappo, and let me show you. With Crazy and Zappo, so we have something like this. We're going to go over the line, round it, around, over the line, round it, around, and round it. Again, we go just under the line, around, follow, and that way. And what you'll have is you'll have the, because this is going to be thicker because we've gone over it, over there and over there, you'll have the distinction between the very thin in the middle and the thicker, which makes it look really pretty. If I was to do it just rounding, it's got very different looks. So if I just did rounding here and here, you see it looks very different to this. By just adding this extra going over the line really makes it pop. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start here somewhere. Let's start where there's a full one. So on this one, I'm going to go over the line, round it where the corners meet, over the line, round, over the line, round, and to meet. Yeah. I'm going to repeat that. So on here, so I know this goes off out there, so I don't need to round that. So I'm going to go around there, around, over the line, around, and over the line. So there we go. So we're going to follow that around on each one. Making it thicker where the edges are. Sorry, where the lines are, because we're going over them again. And remembering to round off where there's a cross section, where they meet. Again, this is one of my favorite tangles to fill in spaces. I think it's really pretty and it can be very delicate at the same time. Just gives the tile a little bit extra. When you don't want to put too much in. It's a really fun one to shade as well. And there's loads of different ways to shade the ensemble. Sometimes, you may need to turn your tile as you go around each corner. Slow down, take your time. Some of the rounding off will be quite rounded off, and other times it will hardly look like it's there. Let me just show you this little bit. Can you see how we've put that, how it looks so different to just a grid there? It's very pretty the way it just by adding that extra weight on over the lines and the rounding. Again, for me, that's magic. There we go. So we've got a little bit there. Okay, next thing. I think, I'm quite happy with that. Have a look around, see if you want to add anything. I think just over here, I'm going to add an orb. Just a little orb there. So turn your work and see if you want to add anything to it. Again, I think I will add another one or two here. Maybe 3. And again, you can see I'm just going to round off those. There we go. Let's add one more here. So turn it around and see. I'm gonna actually go ahead. I don't know what it will look like, but I'm gonna round off where the waves sort of go separate ways. And where there's the space, I can add an orb or I can round it off. You don't have to. I just thought it would be nice. Where they meet the Janelli, for example, where they meet the flux. So over here, for example, where it meets the Ginelli, where it meets the flux. And it doesn't have to be every place, you know, have a look at your design and see whether you feel it needs something somewhere. If you think it does, add it in. If you think it is fine the way it is, let it be. Okay, so there we go. That's what I have. Right, I'm definitely done with the tangling on this one. Next, so we've done our corner dot, border, string, shading. Why have I stopped? It froze. I hope everyone got that. I'm not sure why it froze. I don't even know if it's recording anymore. Is it recording? It froze for a bit, so I don't know if you got the end bit. I don't even know if it's recording anymore. Basically, what I did is before it froze, is I just did a bit of rounding off where the waves met the flux and the Ginelli, and I put a few extra orbs in places. So let's do the shading. So for the shading, I'm using a pencil. So this is the Zentangle pencil. You can use an HB pencil if you wish. And I'm using a tortilla. You can use, you know, if you do parchment craft, your blending tools, you can use even a thin cotton bud if you wish, anything to blend with. Okay, I've got quite a sharp pencil, so I'm not going to use it with the point because I don't want any sharp lines. I'm going to use it at an angle, and wherever the center, wherever they meet in the middle is where I'm going to put the darkest colors. For example, here is the center. So this petal goes underneath here, so I'm going to put shading under there and in the center. So you're putting wherever the center is, plus wherever they go underneath. So over here, it goes underneath here, under this petal, and here. If you're uncertain, you can always do one petal at a time. So let's do one petal at a time. So using the blending tool, sorry, the tortilla, I'm just going to blend that. And then I'll come back and put the extra in a minute, just to show you one petal at a time. And you can see how that's added a bit of shading. So, and it looks completely different to where there's no shading added. So little round movement. So over here where we added shading there, and this goes underneath. So that was the darkest there. And we added a bit here. So I've just done a few petals because I want to show you what it looks like with it shaded and the area which is not shaded yet. So this one goes underneath here and underneath here. Oh, there we go. Can you see where we've added shading here? and not here. For me, it's the shading that's adding magic, a bit more magic. And you can never have too much magic. I'm going to go ahead and put, so you can work one petal at a time if you wish, if you think, you find that easier, or you can add along the edge a little bit of pencil on all the petals and blend all the petals. It is all personal preference. And this is center bit. For me, I sometimes do all the put my outlines with all the pencil and then do all the blending. On some days I do one at a time. It just depends on how confused I am in my head. On days I'm very confused, I'm better doing one at a time. Okay, so we've got the hang of this, I'm hoping. I'm just going to go ahead and add on all of them at this point and then come back and shade. So you want to see where they go underneath and add shade underneath. So for example, this one is under here and it's under there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, while I'm at it, add a bit of shading on the flux, just on in the middle, and if one is going underneath, a little bit where it is underneath, like we did with the Janelli petals. Otherwise, just in the center. So this one goes under there and in the center. So that's Janelli there. And okay, I think if I've missed any, I'll come back to it. So let's get all the Janelli done first before I blend the flux. There was one in here. Right, that's all the Janelli done, I think. So let's do the flux again, exactly the same from the center out. Again, the tortilla I'm using at an angle and I'm not rubbing very hard. The HB pencil on the tile is very soft to blend. So you don't need to press super hard with it to get it to move and spread. If you press too hard with the tortilla, you can damage the paper, and depending on what paper you're using, if you've got, for example, a thin paper, the chances of damaging are even bigger. So be gentle. Okay, the waves. So on the waves, I'm going to put shading where one goes into another and maybe where they meet as well, actually. Why not? So on both ends where they meet, and so for example on here, this bit is under the Janelli, so wherever it's underneath, I'm going to add a bit of shading. And I think this is one that I am going to do maybe one at a time, she says after having put it all in. It's looking so pretty now. This one is under here, under this one, so I'm putting it under there and on the ends. So in this one, my wave went from here, around here to there. And I'm gonna put it on the ends here. This one was from here to here, this goes underneath there. I think I'll do that first and then decide where to go next. Again, you know, there is no right or wrong. So if you put shading somewhere, depending on where you want to put it, that is absolutely fine. If you see your waves differently to how you may have drawn them, that is fine. This one is pretty much going underneath all the way on all of these. So I'm going to put that first and blend it before I move on to the next one. So it's quite dark under there. So this one goes underneath the flux here. This one is under here and the ends there. Something under there too. This one is under here. Bit there. And, you know, sometimes like I'm seeing too many lines now. So in my head, it's a bit confusing about where I'm going. So I just sort of randomly putting where I think it might go. And you see in the end, it does work out. Mm. I'm blending very softly. I'm not pressing on my tortilla. And the pencil just moves so nicely. So there we go. We added the shading on that, I think. I'm gonna call that one done. Okay, ends apple. So for the ends apple, what I'm going to do is I am going to add shading on. So I'm going to leave some space like aura around two sides, so along there and on. Yeah, because they're quite small, mine are quite small. I don't need to put a lot, so I'm just using a pencil line to just aura on the inside. On all of them. And what we'll also do is once we finish doing them individually, oopsie, individually, we'll come back and put extra shading for where it goes underneath the Janelli and the waves. So can you see, I've just done a line because mine are quite small on the inside, leaving a bit of space. And then to blend, I'm going to go on the line and bring it out gently. So on the line and then bring it out. Show you in a minute. Let me do a few. So you see where it's just a line and I've just shaded over the line and bringing it in a little bit. There we go. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just the last bit of shading. I want this section to sit over the ensemble. So I'm just going to add a bit of shading all the way around underneath the Janelli, the flux on this side. Keep turning your tile around. Just following the outline. And around this side. So we've got a bit of dark area there, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just come back and blend that. see how that is sitting on top. This is sitting on top of the ensample now. You can go back and add a bit more dark if you want. Just very gently. And I'm not going to blend this. I'm going to leave this as dark. Just a very thin line around. Okay, the last thing is the little orbs. And what I'm going to do for the orbs is I'm just going to actually color them in with a gold gel pen. So you can use a Sakura gel pen, you can use any gold gel pen. I'm using this one. And I'm just going to color in there, leaving a bit of space around. Some white space. I have a love-hate relationship with gel pens. Do any of you feel the same about them? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. You try so much, different things to get them, the ones that don't work, to get them to work. But if they're having a bad day, they will refuse to work. A bit like a toddler who's throwing a tantrum in a sweet shop and won't come out, throws himself on the floor, refuses to get up. That's a bit like my gel pens. Some days they just refuse to get going. So just a little bit of gold there. So I'm just going to finish off with adding just a little bit of, just giving it a little bit of love. So I'm just going to go over the outside lines where I'd added a lot of shading just to make the lines stand out a bit more. Not on all of them, just on the outside, a little bit where I think it needs a little bit of TLC. So I'm using the number 1 micron pen for this. What you find is that a graphite pen, a HB pencil, wherever you've had, for example, a lot of shading, inking in with your micron pen, when you go over with the pencil or over it, it sort of becomes not gray, but it becomes shiny, almost metallic, and it dulls the outlines. So they don't appear as black as when you had first drawn them. So in places where you've added a lot of shading, for example, it's really worth taking this extra step to just bringing the black back in certain areas, not everywhere. Otherwise, it's almost like redrawing the whole tile, which is fine. But just in like certain places, it really does help. So there we go. So have a look at it and have a think. Do you want to add anywhere else, anything extra? At this point, you can do that. Or you can call it done. I know I said I wouldn't add it everywhere, but I'm not adding it everywhere, but I think I want my waves to stand out from one another. So I'm just going back and adding on the waves where they were roughly somewhere just on the waves, so I can separate each bit a little bit. Let me show you what it looks like now that I've separated it. Oops, I keep hitting the phone, don't I? It's really close to me today. I think I set it up a little bit wrong, so I keep hitting it with my forehead. So there you go. So here in this area where I've added the section, where I've sectioned them off compared to here where I haven't yet, I think the waves stand out a lot more by just doing this little extra step. And I have no idea where the original waves were. So in a lot of places, I am pretty much making it up. And that's okay. I think doing this has really helped it. There we go. So the last bit is we sign our work, we put our initials on the back. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to turn that around and I'm just going to sign at the back. And today's date is the 8th, I think, of February. I can just take the opportunity to say thank you to all of you for joining me. This was my Tangle tile, whoopsie daisy, tile number 5 for uploading on YouTube. And on the front, I have a look and see what orientation you want it to, because we need to sign this. So do I like it like this? Turn it around and see which way you preferred it. And you sign accordingly. Do I like it this way? Actually, I quite like it this way around. So although I'd started drawing it this way, I quite like it this way around. So I'm going to have this as, what's it called? This as something. And where should I sign it? Let's sign it on this side. So, there we go. There's my signature, my little chop. And here you go. Have a look at it. Make sure you're happy with it. Appreciate your work. And yeah, be proud. I quite like that. I really enjoyed that. And like I said, I forget how much I really enjoy Janelli. And C-Wave was new for me. And Zappel is like one of my favorite go-to tangles for filling in flux, or flux fits into anywhere. And yeah, embellish with a few orbs. And here we go. This is what we have. Thank you for joining me today. And I hope to catch up with you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.